for those of you who don't know, we're a tech-enabled service business. So we do viewings for estate agents when they can't get to do them themselves, or inspections or whatever it is. And obviously MRI's customers are, in this instance, are estate agents. The Innovation Collaboration Group is all about bringing together the best in class. And actually, I think before we both joined the ICG as members, I think before MRI and ourselves joined up, we'd been talking about the obvious benefits of a CRM supplier like MRI being able to offer, exactly as you just said, Trevor, end-to-end solutions for their estate agency clients. And from our point of view, one of the things, just off air before we were talking, I've been talking to one of the biggest influencers in the industry only yesterday, actually, about this subject. And one of the issues that he had seen in terms of the take-up of Viewber, which has been enormous. I mean, we're now up towards 10,000 a month. We've done well over 150,000 of these things. So it clearly works. But the reason for the slow take-up in the high street estate agency market, which is MRI's principal estate agency clients, is the fact that they don't like double entry. They don't like the idea that they're going to have to come out of whatever platform they're using day to day and have to enter into another dashboard. So what we've done with you has been a relatively simple solution, just giving people the ability to log in to their dashboard on MRI and go straight through to the Viewber dashboard. I mean, it really is that simple, isn't it?
Yeah, there's two elements to that, really. People who talk to me for longer than 5 minutes will know I talk about App Gateway. We call it App Gateways. You also hear it called Agency Home, but it's essentially the area in which our client base access our system, but more importantly, access our partner infrastructure. You log in once, and that's an important message. So single sign-on, which is huge, because at the end of the day, single sign-on is half of this double keying issue you've got. Taking an example with Viewber, and it is a very, very light touch integration at this stage, and we can talk a bit more about where it's headed. But essentially, you've already got your just a button. I get accused of saying this all the time by our developers. It's just a button. You've got your Viewber button, you've got your sales and letting button on the same page, and you can access both applications at the same time. You go straight from a record in sales and lettings. You tell it you want to do a viewing. It says, is it accompanied, yes or no? And the third option is Viewber. And that click on that button takes you straight into the Viewber system. Again, no more double keying, no more chair spinning, as they call it, in terms of trying to find another application, log in, book your viewing, come back out. There are other areas that we're examining in terms of what we do with you guys, and we didn't want to reinvent the wheel straight away, but there's obviously an interesting area talking about how much we share between each other, what this feedback comes straight in, that side of things. And of course, we'll look to develop the integration as we go forward, but at this stage, we're purely trying to deal with that issue of double keying into systems, really.
Yeah, and I do think that for a lot of estate agents, the sort of help they need is exactly the sort of recommended help they can get from their CRM supplier. I mean, again, it's rather like the old story when you were more on the ops side. I was definitely very much on the agency side. When people used to wonder why we recommended solicitors to them, we recommended the solicitors to them because they were good, and we knew that if they were people that were going to do the business for our buyers or our sellers if they wanted to get a deal done. In this case, there's absolutely no mileage in the ICG recommending you to someone if they're hopeless. And equally, from your point of view, as you say, when you turn around to a developer and say it's just a button, there's no such thing. There's always some work involved in it, and there's always some development work. So, and equally, from our perspective, it's something which we want to be sure that we're going with the right people. We haven't done this. It's been extraordinary how slow it's been in terms of getting CRM suppliers to recognize just the ability to have a simple, straightforward pass-through button that enables their clients to be able to have one single login. It's just so ridiculous that it's taken so long. But I think for a lot of state agency customers, and this is probably, I'm sure, not true of the ones of your MRI customers, is that they're sort of still stuck in the 70s and 80s in terms of the way they run their businesses, whereas clearly and they don't look to tech to enable them to provide the simple solutions they need. And things like backroom access to or help with viewings or inspections and that sort of stuff is absolutely got to be a part of what estate agents need going forward, surely.
Yeah, and I think COVID, we'll have to throw that into the discussion, because that's been a lot of the driver around what we've been trying to achieve with you guys. And it has definitely moved our agency base, driven them harder into actually looking at what they're doing around technology, what solutions they're using, how their best practice in those branches is delivered, whether it's the tech itself or the tech through to the service that you guys offer. And interestingly, I found that the other sides of our business, the social side, are really starting to embrace some of this, more so in a lot of instances in terms of the use of mobile technology. You've got the social aspects of what MRI delivered to the UK market, and when you talk to the tech teams in those environments, that's a collection of products largely that have come from fairly old infrastructure and architecture that's now starting to really drive into this technology space. And I know you've been talking to our social teams about maybe what we can achieve in that area as well. So not necessarily massively relevant to this call, but you can see how the agency experience is translating itself into social space that we're getting into. So.
Yeah, well, I think it's the start of something, hopefully. And I know, as you say, the idea of being able to do further integration, so that whilst at the moment you get a pass straight through, so you get a single login and the ability to use Viewber or your other partners. From our perspective at Viewber, we'd obviously like to develop that further via API, so that, for instance, when the agent comes out and when the Viewber comes out of having done a viewing or an inspection, the feedback they put into our system immediately then goes straight back through your system. So as you say, there's plenty more development. At the moment, that feedback would go straight via email to the existing client, which is fine, but more integration seems sensible. And I know from MRI's perspective, you've got other areas like your social housing provision, et cetera, which we're looking to work with. So I think it's a very exciting future. And I think for anyone who's come to this via the ICG, this is hopefully a classic example of where members of the ICG who are genuinely considered to be the best in class can hopefully exponentially help each other do more business in terms of their agents. So we're very happy with that. I don't know whether you've got anything else to add to that, Trevor. We don't want to keep people on this call for too long, but I'm certainly excited about it, and I know from having talked to you guys in the past that you're keen to facilitate what we do, and indeed your other partners.
Yeah, I mean, the ICG partnering, it's not coincidental that the bulk of our really driven partnerships are in that ICG setup. So, outside of you, but the guys that we're closest to in terms of our partnering space are also inside the ICG. So that kind of reaffirms the message that it's important to us and hopefully the industry as a whole.